Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I am now back from my vacation. I'm going to start making videos again. However, I'm going to kind of need a little bit to get back in the groove of things because my vacation may have messed up my sleep schedule really badly. And I'm already kind of getting back in the groove of waking up on time like I'm supposed to. But I'm still going to need some sort of videos to kind of be a bit of a buffer before I get into like the bigger videos I'm planning on making. So today we're going to talk about some of my favorite moments in the Grimgar story. All I'm going to do is talk about what happens in these moments and why they are my favorites. But let's begin. My first favorite moment that I want to talk about is the end of Volume 2, or in the case of the anime, the end of the anime when Haru fights Despot by himself. And well, by I mean fight, I mean it kills him when his back is turned. I specifically want to talk about the light novel and the manga's version of this moment, specifically because the anime kind of misunderstands what this moment is supposed to represent. Not to say that the anime moment isn't awesome, it's just a little too shonen battle manga for me personally, because it doesn't make any sense when he cut a giant sword in half with his knife. All right, cool. And that just completely goes against like what Grimgar's whole like thing is, especially what Haru is. But in the light novel and the manga, essentially Haru realizes that his friends need to get away because they have very little chance of beating Despot by themselves. And in the manga and the light novel, Despot also had two other kobolds with him to fight Haru and his friends. They ended up taking two of Despot's minions out pretty okayishly. They had a little trouble, but it wasn't that bad. But then Despot went into a berserker rage and then heavily wounded Moguzu, beat the crap out of Ranta, and they really couldn't do much. So Haru decided to sacrifice himself by jumping on top of Despot. He made Ranta take over and pull his entire party away while Haru sacrifices himself. Despot eventually takes Haru and throws him off his back and stares down at him. Despot then runs away after Haru's party because he sees Haru as such a little threat that he has no problem turning his back on him and going after the bigger threats. Then Haru sees the gleaming light and moves forward and just so quickly stabs and kills Despot from behind. This moment is really interesting because it sets up multiple things about Haru. It pays off the setup earlier on in the story about the gleaming light and what to do and how it actually isn't anything special. If you want to know more about the gleaming light, I made a whole video talking about what this thing actually is in the past, so go check out that video. It represents Haru as a character, as in which he is always misunderstood and always kind of like looked down upon by everyone around him that isn't in his party. And the moment you let your guard down around him, he will strike and beat you. That's the thing that makes Haru so dangerous. He's just so easily like undervalued as a volunteer soldier, but he actually has a lot of value when you actually know what he's good at. This also sets up future parts in the story where you kind of see a little bit of Haru and how dangerous he can actually be. And later on in the story, you see that a lot more when Haru starts killing goblins, kobolds, orcs, people pretty easily. The thing is, Haru can't do this like head to head for the most part. But the moment you keep your attention off of him, the moment you don't pay attention to him at all, you're dead. Also, the anime, the manga, and the light novel specify that whenever Haru's focusing a lot, he looks extremely sleepy, which they do show this off in the anime and in the manga really, really well. In the light novel, it's mentioned constantly whenever he's focusing, he's really sleepy. But it really starts here. This is where the trend starts going on a lot more, and you get a lot more mentions of his eyes constantly throughout like the rest of the story. It's also kind of played as a bit of a joke in the light novel because like his friends completely like plan on leaving him. And like, I think like what, a minute or two later, they come back to check on his body and be like, oh, he's fine. Let's take him and go home. In the anime, he just kind of zones out and he wakes back up in bed. And then they kind of explain they went back for him later. But in the light novel, they were just like, oh yeah, nah, we didn't really want to leave that far. We just kind of turned back. And again, don't get me wrong, I know the anime did this whole big bombastic moment because it was at the end of the anime, because they don't plan on making a season 2. They never really did from the beginning. And they wanted to have a big bombastic end, so they decided to have Haru be a total badass out of nowhere for like little to no reason. And it was just kind of, it was, to me again, it was overdone. And I still enjoyed it for what it was, but you know, it is what it is. The next moment I want to mention is admittedly a comedy moment, but it is a moment that every time I read it, every time I go back through the manga and I get to it, I always like laugh out loud. It's the moment that Haru just gets fed up with Ranta completely at one point in Volume 3. Ranta had information, and he went up to Moguzu and Haru in the morning after like he went out to go get food, came back, and he got information about how the volunteer soldiers are gonna go head to Deadhead Keep, and in Deadhead Keep, they are going to like recruit people and pay them a lot of money to go with them. But Ronta decided to be a jackass and kind of like played up like he knew something that they didn't, and Haru was just woken up from a bad night of sleep, so he's already kind of cranky. And Ronta was just like, I know something you don't know. And Haru was essentially telling him, just tell me what it is. If it's that important, I should know now. And Ronta kept just playing it up like he wanted him to beg for the information, call him like a god or something. It was a whole mess. He just was acting like a total jackass. Haru just snapped and started wrapping his hands around Ronta's neck and just started choking the life out of him. Mokuzu just kind of just stood there and watched. He didn't do anything. And it's one of the rare moments where the gags with Ronta actually did pay off for me personally, because it was genuinely very funny to see someone as common as Haru just completely snap and just start choking the life out of someone. Mokuzu's stomach started to growl, and that got the attention of Haru and Ronta, and they decided to go get food before they finished talking about the Deadhead Keep mission. Like, it's a goofy, like, lol moment, but I just thought it was, like, really entertaining, and every single time I read it, I always, like, start cackling, because I love it when Ronta gets what he deserves sometimes. Other times, the comedy is just kind of meh, or just kind of cringy in Grimgar, I'll be honest. So was the dialogue, but in this one moment, it just felt really funny to me. This video actually went on a little longer than I was expecting. If you guys want me to talk more about my favorite moments from Grimgar, let me know in the comments, or just like this video. I gotta go back and work on other stuff for like TikTok and other platforms. Like I said, my schedule is kind of turned into a mess right now, so I gotta get that rolling again and start getting everything back together. But thank you very much for making it this far. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Bye!